I'm here today with Glenys Nellist. Glenys was born and raised in a little village in northern England. You can tell that by her accent, by the way. The author of multiple children's books, including the best-selling Twas the Evening of Christmas, The Wonder That Is You, and the popular series Love Letters from God and Snuggle Time. Her writing reflects a deep passion for helping children discover joy in the world. Glenys lives in Michigan with her husband, David, and is just such a wonderful person to have involved in our conferences and with Writing for Your Life. So Glenys, thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, Brian. It's always a joy to be with you.
So one of the things that we need to talk about is that we just completed this conference last week, the first ever Christian children's book conference that we've ever done. And you were one of the headline speakers for it. So first of all, thank you very much for that. Thank you for all the contributions that you made to that conference. But what did you think of it? How did you experience that whole event?
Oh, it was marvelous. It was wonderful, Brian. I mean, I've been to many writers' conferences, but that is the first one I attended. I mean, the first one I've heard of that was specifically for children's writers and children's writers of Christian books. And I think that all the people that were there, all the different, from all the country, you know, there was somebody attending from Australia, and without that virtual event, she would never have been able to participate. But the networking, the range of speakers, the diverse topics, the publishers, the editors, my first time headlining at a conference, it was just all wonderful. I've made so many new connections, and I'm really thankful that I was part of it, and I'm excited that we're going to be doing another one. And the number of people that came just shows you that the need is out there.
Yes, yes. No, I couldn't agree more with everything you just said, Glenys. I mean, I was just so impressed with the speakers, you know, in terms of both their presentation, their Q&A, but then also how much they supported each other during the whole conference. And as we've discussed, I mean, this group of Christian children's book authors is unprecedented in any group that I've ever seen in terms of how much it supports each other.
Yeah, I know. I love that about our Kidlit Christian community too. We join together and we're in it together and we're there for each other, and it's a wonderful place to be.
Yes, yes. No, I see that now. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So we're here today to discuss a new book that you have coming out on Tuesday. That's Tuesday, October 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So it's called Little Mole's Christmas Gift.
Yeah.
But this is actually the second in the series after Little Mole Finds Hope. So can you talk a little bit about that first book before we start talking about the second book?
Sure, sure. Well, first I'll just show you the cute cover for Little Mole's Christmas Gift. I hope you can see the shiny.
Yes,
I think this is called spot art or something, but these books are published by Beaming Books, and they're just a wonderful publisher to be working with. So yeah, we first met Little Mole back in February in this little book, which was the first one in the series, and this was called Little Mole Finds Hope. And it's really the story of this little mole who's sad, he's depressed in his little burrow underground. He is literally and figuratively in the dark, but he doesn't know why. And so his mom suggests that they go and find hope. And so the beauty of this book is that Little Mole learns that hope can be found even in the darkest places, like the squashed flower bulb in the soil that looks like it's dead, but it becomes a daffodil, or of course the chrysalis that looks shriveled and lifeless, but it's a beautiful butterfly. And the amazing thing, Brian, about that little book is that it was published February, and then what happened in March? COVID hit, everything shut down, everyone was staying home. I had to cancel all my school visits and my book events. But the message of that book, that hope can be found even in the darkest place, you know, it's amazing to me how I feel like God was in that, and it was perfect timing, because don't we all need hope?
Boy, isn't that the truth?
Right.
My goodness. Yeah, I mean, the timing wasn't good for your book tours, as you said, but boy, talk about the timing for the need for that book was,
right.
Just perfect.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, Little Mole maybe was born for such a time as this.
Well, I think, as you know, I did a whole interview series in the spring called Reading Hope in Trying Times.
That's
So,
right.
The theme of your book was exactly that.
Yeah, yeah. We just have to look for the hope, and where that might sometimes be hard to find when we're in a dark place. Yeah.
So did you pitch these books as a series, or did the second one come about because of the first one, or how did that work out?
Well, when I first wrote Little Mole Finds Hope, at that time I was working actually with an agent. I don't have an agent because she since we were just sort of talking about that book together, but then she stepped into another role. But at her suggestion, she said, as I'm sending this book out, I mean, she didn't actually send it out because she stepped to another role, but she said, you really should, it's good to pitch a series. So if you have another idea for this cute little mole, you should be working on that now, so that if a publisher's interested, if they say, do you have, another book, then you're already ready to go with one. So that was great advice from her. And so we had Little Mole Finds Hope ready to go. And then I started working on, and that was like an Easter theme book. So then naturally I thought I should maybe work on a Christmas one. And so then I wrote Little Mole's Christmas Gift, which actually the title is different, but we can talk about that later. So that was how I came to have two books. But when I pitched the first one to Beaming Books, I just pitched it as, I've written a book, it's called Little Mole Finds Hope, and it's the first in a series. And then they came back to me and said, what other books do you have in this series? Yeah, and so thanks to that agent, I already had one. I said, yeah, I have this one too. And so right in the beginning, it was a 2-book deal from Beaming Books. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to have a second one out 8 months after the first one is just, that alone is pretty outstanding.
I know. It's just wonderful. And Beaming Books, were so smart. They said we need to do them in the same year so that they complement each other.
Well, good for them and good for you. I mean, that just makes a ton of sense. I can totally see it now.
Yeah.
I mean, the first one just primed everything for the second one.
Yeah, I know.
And as we said, the timing of both of those, is just spot on. So
yeah,
good for you. I mean, the first one's done real well, I'm assuming, right? I mean, in terms of sales?
Yes, I think so. I mean, it's hard to say if sales they probably would have been better had I been able to do my book events, my school visits. But I think everything I'm hearing is that during COVID and despite of COVID, children's book sales are still good. Parents are needing good books to read to their children. So, yeah,
I think sales overall are up, and children's book sales are up.
Yeah. So that's another good thing, about this awful time.
Yeah, yeah. So this isn't the first Christian book that you've authored. How's it different from the rest? I'm sorry, different Christmas books. You've written Christmas books. Right.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I have quite a few other Christmas books, like Twas the Evening of Christmas. That's a Clement Seymour classic, based on his rhythm and rhyme, but it's about Jesus. And then I've got like Christmas Love Letters from God and Snuggle Time Christmas and Good News It's Christmas. So yeah, I have quite a few. But what's different about Little Mole's Christmas Gift is that all those other titles are in some way or another a retelling of the birth of Jesus. But Little Mole's Christmas Gift is just a sweet story from my brain, from my imagination. And it has the themes of kindness and generosity. But it has no religious references at all. And so we're just hoping that it will appeal to both a secular and a religious market, people of faith and people of none.
Good, good. That's excellent. I mean, and it's so wonderful that you just kind of dreamed it up. I mean, so to speak.
I know, that was exciting for me because it's kind of a different genre for me, because up to then I'd really been retelling the great Bible stories, which is what I love to do, or, you know, writing in rhyme, which is another thing I love to do. So just to think of a little story, from my own imagination was wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the values that we describe and portray and role model, you know, as Christians, are values that everyone can relate to if we relate them correctly.
Yeah, that's right. Of course, you know, most people value kindness and generosity, you know, and being good to your neighbor and sharing and all those things. So, yeah, we're hoping it will just appeal to a broad audience.
And the same thing with the book about hope, you know, that came out earlier in the year.
That's right. That's right. Although it was an Easter-themed book, and although if you're a Christian, you will definitely see the underlying theme of resurrection, again, there were no religious references in that book because we all need hope. It's a universal human need, whether you believe in God or you don't. So, yeah, I'm really excited for these crossover titles.
Yes, yes. Well, what do you hope that readers are most going to take away from the new book?
Well, I'll give you a little brief synopsis. I won't give it away because I want you to go out and get the books and find out what happens.
Well, of course.
Well, basically, I'm just going to show you a picture. So in this book, Little Mole, so in the first book, you know, he's a little reticent, he's a little unsure of himself. But in this book, we see him taking the initiative a bit more. So he's super excited because he's found this giant mushroom for Mama for Christmas. So it's one of these big mushrooms. There's our little friend. And so there's a name for these, but for the life of me, I can't remember. But they're real mushrooms, apparently.
Good, good.
So he's had his eye on this mushroom, and his thought is it's going to be a great big gift for Mama. And remember earlier I said that the title had been changed. When I first pitched this book, it was called Little Mole's Little Gift. And Beaming Books quite rightly said we should call it Little Mole's Christmas Gift because, you know, it makes it more visible in searches, Christmas books.
Sure, sure.
But anyway, the premise is, I love this page because the wonderful illustrator, Sally Garland, she's British, that must be why she's good. She, this one page, she depicted Little Mole dreaming of wrapping that big mushroom up for Mama, and it's going to look gorgeous because it's a massive gift. So he's dreaming about how huge that gift is going to be for his mom. So anyway, what happens, he manages to topple the mushroom and he's dragging it back home through the snow. But on his way home, he meets 3 different little friends who are all in need in one way or another. And so our little guy has a big decision to make. Should he share his mushroom or should he save it for Mama?
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's a little bit predictable, but I think often good children's books are predictable if the kids, you know, can predict what's going to happen. Well, I won't tell you what happens, but since you know it's a story of kindness and generosity, you probably can guess. But anyway,
that sounds so wonderful.
Well, it's not the big gift that he hoped for, but he discovers that his gift, because he's been kind, it was the biggest gift for Mama.
Oh, goodness.
So what I'm hoping, well, one of the things that I hope people will take away from it is that sometimes the best gifts are little. You know, the greatest gifts sometimes are invisible. And I think that's a really good lesson for us during COVID. I mean, a lot of people are out of work now. They're struggling with income. You don't have to spend a lot of money to give a great gift. I remember when years ago when my daughter was working as a church custodian over in Portland, Oregon, and we're in Michigan, and it was Mother's Day, and she couldn't afford to send me anything. But she talked to me on the phone and she said, Mom, I'm sorry I didn't send you a gift, but what I did was on Sunday when everybody had left church, I just sat in the sanctuary and I sang your favorite hymn and thought about you.
Oh my goodness.
I know, and that, I have never forgotten that, and it gives me goosebumps to relate that little story, because
Sure.
that was a beautiful gift. It was invisible. It didn't cost anything, but it meant the world to me, and I've never forgotten it.
Wow. Oh, how
Yeah.
wonderful. How thoughtful.
Yeah, I know. So sometimes the greatest gifts can be small.
Wow. That's just so great. Well,
Yeah.
you know, I think we're all looking forward to the book, and I hope the pre-order sales have gone well. And so, you know, since you haven't been able to promote it, you know, in kind of more traditional in-person kind of ways, what kinds of other things have you found to be successful in terms of connecting with, you know, potential readers?
Yeah. Well, Brian, you know, going back to the whole theme of hope in darkness, or looking for the silver linings during the pandemic, just in the last couple of weeks, honestly, I've come to realize the power of Zoom that we're on right now, because when we lived over in Grand Rapids, I live in Dearborn now. When we lived in Grand Rapids, I had like a number of schools, and I would go every year and read my books to them. Well, suddenly I thought, you know what? Because of COVID, I can't visit them in person, but I can offer to Zoom. So I contacted several of the schools, and they were all excited, you know, and at first what I was saying was, it'll be a virtual visit to read Little Mole's Christmas Gift. But I can visit each classroom, like I can do half an hour with you, and then half an hour with you, and then half an hour with you. And then one day I suddenly thought, just a minute, via the powers of Zoom, I can be in all those classrooms at the same time.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh, yeah, so that's what we've arranged now in several schools during December. I'm Zooming with the whole school, like with 4 or 5 different classes, but all at the same time. And so they're all going to prepare questions. I'll read the book, and we'll have a little Q&A. I've got a cute puppet that's dressed.
Excellent.
Yeah, he's going to be dressed up, but I'm not going to tell you what he's going to be wearing. But each class is preparing questions. So after I've read, like, this class can ask a question, then this one. So hopefully they won't get bored. So, I mean, that is a wonderful way for me to be able to connect all at the same time. And so I'm offering those visits free. So yeah, if anybody's listening and you'd like, because I can Zoom with your class in England, I can Zoom with your class in Australia, you know.
Sure.
So yeah, so that is the wonders of technology.
Isn't it something when you remove the geographic constraints, you know, it's just like things open.
Yes, it's amazing, and I think it's just something we've all had to, we've been forced to think out of the box and be creative and find new ways to get the word out about our books. So
isn't that the truth? Isn't that wonderful though to hear?
Yeah, and then I'm going to do a virtual book launch party at Baker Book House. I will go to the bookstore,
okay,
but I'll just be there with the marketing team, and I'm going to read the book. We're going to play some games and have a giveaway, and it'll be fun. And see, that event can be attended by children anywhere.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Yeah, so you just have to look for the silver linings.
Yeah, and I think be creative and flexible, and, you know, think out of the box, as they say.
Right. And you know what, Brian? Here's another little God thing. I realized yesterday that I'll be at Baker Books it's Friday the 13th of November. of November. But do you know what day that is? I learned yesterday it's World Kindness Day.
No. Oh, that's great.
I didn't even know that. I don't
I
know if
didn't
Baker
either.
books do that, but what better day to read a book about kindness and generosity?
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Well, you know, I always encourage authors in their marketing to look at those, you know, World X Day or National, you know, such and such day, and make some posts, you know, if their themes of their books are relevant to that day.
Right.
So
I know, and
so that's perfect for you.
I know, and it was all coincidental. Yeah.
So I want to give a little preview, and then I'm going to ask you if you have any other previews to give. So we are planning to have another Christian children's book online conference in May of 2021, specifically May 10th through 14th. So anybody that's watching this, you're getting early information. This hasn't been announced yet, other than to people like Glenys that I've told. But that is the plan. So you know, so stay tuned for additional information on that. And then Glenys, I don't want you to say anything that you know don't feel comfortable with. But I mean, do you have more books in the hopper in the idea generation stage at this point?
I do. Well, we might not have seen the last of Little Mole.
Oh, wonderful.
I'll just put that out there. But next year, I'm excited for my new Easter book. It's the second in the Twas series. It's called Twas the Morning of Easter. And wonderful Russian illustrator. So I'm super excited about that book. It begins, "'Twas the morning of Easter before the sun rose. Two guards on a hillside were trying to doze." So it's the guards outside the tomb, you know. So that's what's coming up for me early next year. And then
wonderful.
A couple of other titles later in the year, but they're still kind of secret. So
Sure. Well,
yeah.
let's make
sure. Brian, can I just say one more little thing about Little Mole's Christmas gift? So if anybody's listening and they would like a signed copy, Baker Bookhouse has signed copies, or you can just email me. I'm easy to find on Facebook. I'm the only Glenys Nellist on Facebook. But just contact me if you would like a signed copy, because Beaming Books made these wonderful little self-adhesive book plates.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Those are very well done. They're beautiful.
I know, aren't they so cute? So, you know, for a Christmas gift, I can sign it and personalize it. And I mail these out free. So please contact me if you want one.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Thank you for offering that to everyone.
Of course. Yeah.
And Baker Bookhouse, if you just Google them, you'll find out about the virtual book launch party that's coming up too.
That's right, yes. We're about to create that event, but yeah, it's Friday the 13th and it will be at 6 p.m. on World Kindness Day.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Well, Glenys, it's so wonderful to spend time with you. I so appreciate all the fine work that you're doing and your willingness to share with everyone and help other authors. So thank you for modeling what we all should be following.
Oh, well, thank you, Brian, for having me. It's always a joy.